Your subconscious, we think, wants to make us successful, but actually that's not true. Your subconscious wants to keep you in what it thinks is safe, even if that means destructive things for you or self-sabotage.
Welcome to Travel Time Stories with Shannon. Real journeys meet real stories, and healing happens one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Shannon, coming to you from the Lone Star State of Texas. Some weeks I share pieces of my own life story, from travel adventures to the very real journey of healing and growth. Other weeks I'm joined by my best friend and co-host, Ann, from Missouri, and we sit down with guests who share their stories, their experiences, their expertise, and their lessons that have shaped them. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Ann, and we're excited about our special guest. We're joined by Deepak Chari, who is an engineer and certified biofeedback specialist and the co-founder of the Chari Center of Health. We're talking about how his work really bridges science, emotion, and healing, and why it might change the way you see your own journey. Deepak, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We love stories that explore how people heal, grow, and transform, and your work around emotional blocks, stress, and voice biofeedback really stood out to us. Together, we're going to explore how our emotions live in the body, how the voice can reveal what we may not even realize we're carrying, and what it truly means to release, not just cope with stress and anxiety. So everyone, grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it.
And for listeners who are new to our work, can you explain in a very human, non-technical, easy way what you do and who you actually help?
Absolutely. Like you said, my name is Deepak Chari, and I've been doing this work for 20 years. And it's in a category that's kind of new that people probably haven't heard of, called advanced voice biofeedback. I kind of created that name in a way. People may have heard the word biofeedback, which was from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even 2000s. And that was a way of measuring your heart rate, your pulse rate, your breathing, and your brain waves to kind of see where you're at the moment. So let's say someone was stressed, right? So what they might do is show them visual images of flowers or balloons lightly going up from the ground, and it would kind of create a pleasant sensation and visual, so it would calm the person. Then they would, again, in a biofeedback, measure their new heart rate and breathing and brain waves and everything, and those would be slowed down. So it's a kind of an external situation to slow things down. So that was kind of the previous thing, and then as you feel calmer, then they show more relaxed images, then you slow down even more and more and more. And that's great. The only challenge is when you leave the office. Then someone cuts you off as you're driving and you go, like that, beep, 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 beep. I'm going to chase him down to his exit, and that kind of thing, right? And it's like, wait a minute, didn't you just do all this biofeedback to calm yourself down? Well, it was good for the moment, but not for every situation in life, because you got triggered. Why did you get triggered? You got triggered by your subconscious. Was it that guy who cut you off? Yeah, it was, right? No, it wasn't. It was something from before that, and something from before that, and that, and that. Believe it or not, and I've checked it every time as I've doing this work for 20 years, it always goes back to your childhood. What? Yes, something from your childhood triggered your response for this guy to cut you off. Maybe even created the situation. Whoa, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so your reactivity happened in 1 second, but you calmed yourself down temporarily, but that was a temporary thing. It was wired in from your subconscious, that reactivity to react that way. And it was based on an emotion. And it's interesting, when I studied this, whatever anyone is going through, I found I can always track it back to their childhood from age 0 to 12. No matter, even if it's somebody says, but Deepak, this is different. This is something that happened just a few moments ago. Yes, that's true. But your reactivity to that situation was triggered by something from the past. You see, I found There's 4 phases we go through. Is it okay if I discuss what those 4 phases that we go through are?
Yeah, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay. When your parents decide to procreate you, they said, let's have this child. Well, in the moment that they're, and I'm being pretty blunt and direct here, decide to procreate you, every thought, feeling, and emotion that they had in that moment gets downloaded to your energy field. You're this invisible, barely invisible little energy being created, but the unresolved issues of that parent, when the mom and dad both get downloaded to you. So for example, if the dad was frustrated where he is in his life, gosh, I'm not where I want to be in my life right now. I should have been here. I should have been at this salary level, this management level. I'm not so happy in my relationship with this woman I'm with also. And I've had a lot of traumas in my life and a lot of betrayal in my life. Well, that's all cumulated up to that point. Well, guess what? A certain percentage of all those cumulative energetic emotional experiences get downloaded in that moment to that child. And the same goes for the mom equally as well. But in addition to that, the unresolved issues of the grandparents on the father's and mom's side get downloaded too. That is the father's father, the father's mother, the mother's father, and the mother's mother. In other words, if they had issues in their life that they never resolved, and I guarantee you they all did, even though
Mm-hmm.
they may have denied it. No, I'm fine. It's you who has the issue, right? The grandparent. If they had depression, anxiety, fears, phobias, emotional trauma, addictions, whatever it is, and they never resolved it, then you also get a percentage of the unresolved issues of that, as well as their own way of how they saw the world. This world is a tough doggy dog world. It's not safe. It's not nurturing. You got to keep watching your back. All that kind of stuff. Fear, worry, doubt, that gets downloaded in the mix too. Certain percentage of that. And by the way, I'm able to kind of quantify something subjective like this also in my work. So this gets downloaded in phase 1 to this kid. Now you go to the store, you buy a brand new laptop. Great. There's nothing on it. It's a clean hard drive. That's you. Except now you had the stuff from the unresolved issues from mom and dad and the grandparents already in phase 1. Then there's phase 2. What is phase 2? You're in your mom's womb for 9 months, incubating. But you're also incubating whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions your mom has. Maybe she's not very happy with your father or the relationship she was in. Maybe she's not happy where she is in life. Maybe she wanted to be a jet setter, being a model around the world, and now she's having this kid. Maybe she didn't want to have the kid. I never wanted to have this kid. What do you think that kid will pick up? Oh, I wasn't wanted. Yes, they will pick it up. And if the parents are fighting in between, the kids between going, hey, I can hear you guys. I guess you don't know that, but I can. So that's also going into the mix. Phase 2. So then comes phase 3. What's phase 3? I'm born. Hey, I'm born. Okay. But you had 2 phases downloaded already. So now you're born and you have the direct interface of the mom, dad, maybe grandparents, maybe teachers and people older than us, uncles, aunts, who are downloading all their stuff to us, their emotions with their belief systems. And that goes from, especially I found in all my research, from age 0 to 7, especially, whatever is said, no matter how crazy or mean or insulting it is to the kid will accept it as the gospel truth. They will not question it. And also the same from 8 to 12, though in a lighter extent, but pretty much they'll accept it. So therefore, what am I saying? From age 0 to 12, whatever is said, whatever is done, it could include physical and emotional abuse as well, unfortunately. That all
Mm-hmm.
goes into the mix, okay? If the
Wow.
parent or teacher, and you may be familiar with what I'm going to say, told the kid, I never wanted you as a kid, or you don't deserve my love, or they show that, and the kid feels they don't deserve the love because the parent doesn't know how to give love and doesn't give love to the kid, or the parent might say, why can't you be like that girl across the street? Look how beautiful she is, how tall she stands, how successful she is. Couldn't you be even a little bit like that? I wish you were more talented like the other side of the family. Guess you didn't get that. That has a huge impact on kid. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. I'll never amount to anything. And believe it or not, I actually had a client whose father told the son, you're not going to be more than a ditch digger in your life. Nah, I doubt it. Yes, these are actual case studies and other things too. So all of these things have a huge impact on the kid. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But I mentioned there's 4 phases. What's the 4th one? The fourth phase is when you take all those patterns I discussed from phase 1, 2, and 3, and you carry them into your own life. This is all done unconsciously. And you duplicate exactly what your parents and grandparents did into your own life without realizing, and then into your kids' lives. And then your kids do the same thing. And this repeats. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? How many times have we might have said, or somebody might have said, I will never marry someone like my dad or like my mom did. I will never do that. And guess what happens? Isn't that
Yep.
interesting how that seems to happen? Okay, next time I won't do that. No, no, no. I'm wiser now. I'm wise. It's not going to happen again. It would happen again. And they might not just be like the parents. They might be like the grandparents as well. And I can actually quantify this and show that too in my sessions, the kind of person you do into your life. So I went through all these challenges in my life, which I'll talk about how I developed this program. And I created a program called my Life Transformation Technology Program that clears those 4 phases of your life. So you're liberated out of this repeating matrix. You're like a rocket ship blasting out of this repeating pattern into whole new territories where you won't repeat the patterns of the past. You'll create new patterns, though, and still keep the wisdom of the past.
Wow. That's
Wow.
incredible. So basically, what you're
Now,
talking about is like generational energy transference.
That is
And I
exact.
had no idea that happened like that. That's so interesting.
Yes. I call those ancestral imprints or patterns.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've always thought that those were out there that we come with. I am so much like my grandmother on my mother's side, a woman who I maybe met once as a baby. But my mom told me over and over, you are my mother. You are exactly my mother. You know, when I would cook, she would say, how do you know to do that? I would say, I don't know. That's the way I do it. She would say,
Oh,
that's how your grandma did it. You know, just little things like that.
that's
And
exactly
that's when it
right.
hit me. You know, I've pulled some special things from my ancestors.
That's exactly right. You definitely did, unquestionably. That's why your mom said that to you. How
Yeah.
many times have we seen grandkids, and I definitely have, that look, walk, and act and talk like their grandparents, either on the mother's or father's side? And, like you'll see a boy walking and talking, acting like Grandpa Joe, but Grandpa Joe died before this kid was even born. He never even
Mm-hmm.
saw him. But all the parents know for sure who Grandpa Joe was. And this kid is walking, acting, and talking like him, and even has the personality of him. Just like you said, Ann, that's exactly what happened with you. You got a download from your grandma into your DNA.
Yeah.
So that is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yes. Yeah, it really is. For my youngest son, I have always said since the day he was born, I call him an old soul because he literally came out of the womb like an old man. From the very
yes.
first talk, it has been like it was an older person, not as a child or a baby talk. And
Amazing.
his connection, he connects better with older people versus those his own age or younger. I always just tease him and tell him he's an old soul, but I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense now that you've said
Yes,
that. That's why he's like that.
absolutely. How old is he now?
He's 26.
Okay. So yeah, this matches with what I'm saying. He probably is carrying on the traditions of one of your grandparents, or could a couple of them mixed together, maybe certain percentage mix of them. It's like a soup. I can actually quantify that in the work I do. Like what percentage of each person you got into your belief system of who you follow and what you do. And it also explains why things happen in your life the way they did when I showed this.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
That is so amazing. So when people first come to you, what are they usually feeling or struggling with?
Yeah, that's a great question. Low self-esteem, low self-worth, they're not good enough. They're drawing relationships in their life over and over again. 99% of my clients happen to be women. The most common thing they tell me is, Deepak, I'm not seen, heard, validated, understood, appreciated. No one listens to me when I'm talking, no matter what I say. And why is that? Why am I not acknowledged, appreciated? What is going on? They draw the same kind of relationships over and over and over again that are narcissistic, mean, condescending, manipulative, gaslighting, over and over again. And they say to me, I am a very compassionate, caring woman. I never wanted a relationship like that. Why in the world am I drawing something like that? Exactly what I didn't want. And I'll say, well, that's because you have two minds. You have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. let's say 99% of it is the subconscious mind below the surface, like an iceberg below the water. But the tiny part above the water is the 1%. That's the conscious mind that says, I need to accomplish these things today. I need to pick up these groceries, that kind of thing. But the 99% is every thought, feeling, emotion in every quadrillionth or every fraction of a second since the day we were born. So if all those comp up to the current time, including these ancestral patterns, are in the subconscious, that dominates what we're going to draw and bring into our lives. That is, until we can clear it.
Wow.
Wow. That explains so much. And
Yes.
this is wonderful for someone such as myself. I was adopted. So
Ah, yeah.
I have no knowledge of what my actual birth parents were like, what their patterns were, and their parents. The only thing I have to draw from is my adoptive family and my experiences I've had with them growing up. So, yeah, this explains why some of the things that I have are probably imprinted from my biological family. And if I could understand that or have more knowledge about that, then I could release it and break free from that.
And then you bring up a great point, Shannon, because I work with a lot of adopted people too. And many of them didn't know who their biological parents were. But the good news is it doesn't matter because everything is in the energy field. So when I work with them, I not only work on clearing the imprints from the biological parents, which are very significant, but also from the adoptive parents, because from 0 to 12, as I discussed, those are just as imprintable as the biological parents' imprints. So I cover both of those. Now, you might ask me, well, Deepak, I didn't know my biological parents, so how can I clear them? Well, you might not know, but the energies in the field of what the patterns was, and I can find that out. And I'll talk about it's kind of very interesting how that works. So once I find out what those imprints are, it'll explain a lot of things of the reason of why things happen the way they did in your life. So for example, just to give an idea when I'm doing a session, so let's say even your example, let's say I'm doing the adoptive parents, which you knew very well. So I create what are called computerized emotional maps, it's like an emotional heat map of the person. So what it is I take you into an altered state of consciousness so I can access the subconscious mind with the technology. And then I say, tell me about your adoptive mom when you're growing up. What was she like? And then you'll tell me, and for about 15, 20 seconds, not very long, and I will create a computerized voice map of her imprint. And it might say anger, rage, fear, overwhelm, even though you're talking in a normal tone of voice. You were not even thinking that, but that's her energy of which it downloaded to you. Then you might talk about your dad. Maybe there's a lot of fear and overwhelm. And you just said, well, my adoptive dad was like this and like this, like that. But it might show extreme fear. I can pick all that up in the energy field. But then when you come to your biological parents, you might say, well, Deepak, I don't know anything about them. How can we record them? Say, you can. You definitely had biological parents. So even though you didn't know anything about them, let's say you didn't know anything about them, imagine that the silhouetted figure is standing in front of you, and imagine that's your biological dad. All I want you to say is, I don't know anything about my biological dad. And keep repeating that for about 15 seconds. The person might say to me, Deepak, that doesn't make any sense. I said, the subconscious doesn't work on logic. It works on energy in your energy field. So just say that to me because it's true. You don't know anything about them, but the subconscious knows everything. So they say, I don't know anything about my biological father, over and over again for 15 seconds. And I make a computerized voice map. It will show very specifically what that imprint of the biological parent was from your own energy field. Then do the same for mom. And even if though you use the same tonality, I don't know anything about my biological dad, and even same tonality, I don't know anything about my biological mom. For the average person, wow, probably it's going to show the same stuff, right? No. One might show extreme anger, one might show extreme fear or worry or low self-esteem or low self-worth. That's in the energy field. So that I'm picking anything up from the energy field. So once we have all of this, then we can start working on clearing those imprints that you picked up unconsciously.
That is fascinating. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, I had no clue that something like that could be done. So this is really amazing to find out and probably something that I need to have done.
I was thinking about you, Shannon. That would be really good for you.
Exactly.
hope.
I see where it would be very beneficial to me with everything, my trauma and stuff that I've went through and experienced.
Absolutely. That's the reason I call my program my Life Transformation Technology Program, because it'll literally transform your life.
Wow. So you're an engineer by training,
Yes,
which isn't the path people usually expect when they hear about emotional healing work. So how
exactly.
did you go from engineering to biofeedback and emotional transformation?
And that is a great question. It started with my own journey of my own emotional challenges. My father was an engineer, so that's the reason I decided to be an engineer, and that was it. But the thing is, when I was growing up as a kid, I was bullied. My parents came from India in the early 60s, and I was the first generation kid, my sister and I. And I was bullied in school. So at a young age of about 7 or 8, from that age, I was pushed around and that kind of thing. So what I would do, I chose my safe place as the library. I would hide in the library in different aisles at different times. So while I was there hiding out, I thought, well, I got to do something here while I occupy myself. So I'd grab books from the shelf randomly. But maybe it wasn't so random, because the books I grabbed from the shelf were on the law of attraction. Hugh Clement Stone, Napoleon Hill, As a Man Thinketh, How to Gain Friends and Influence, all those kinds of books. I started reading those, and I didn't realize, but I was actually programming myself to think in a different way. So to deal with the outer things I had to deal with, all those bullies. So that I kept doing that for many years. This bullying pattern kept going on, and it went into my preteens and then in high school. But it changed from being pushed around to, well, you don't fit in our group. In fact, you don't fit in any group, so you're kind of on your own. So I was alone and abandoned, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners of yours can relate to this. So once I graduated from high school, I thought, okay, this bullying thing will be done because this immature kid thing is all over with. So I went to the dean of engineering and I told him I would like to be an engineer. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, I don't know if you have what it takes to be an engineer. I think you'd be best suited for the other building on the other side of the campus." And I said, "Well, I know this campus pretty well. And the other building you're referring to is the theater department, isn't it? So you're saying I should be an actor instead of an engineer? Is that what you're saying?" And he kind of goes, "Well," so I said, "Guess what? I'm going to show you who I am and what I'm about." I was 18-year-old, that rebellious thing. And so that's what happened. So I took that drive and I said, "Be the best engineer you ever saw. You're not going to hold me back." So then I got my bachelor's in engineering. Then I said, "I'm going to show you even more. I'm going to get my master's degree." Ha ha ha. So I even did that. So I took what he said to me, and it would have been nice if he just supported me, but I just did it that way. So I got my master's degree as well. Now, along the way, though, this is the key thing. I was drawing people into my life, classmates, friends, bosses, supervisors, who were very, very bullyish, manipulative, controlling, condescending, mean, cruel, and narcissistic. And I thought, wow, this is how friends are supposed to be? I guess I have to accept what I can get. Bosses like this, horrible. Maybe I'll leave this job. Maybe that's because this job. I would get another job. They were the same way. They looked totally different personality, but the same energy. And relationships too. This kept repeating. And I thought, wow, this is not ending. I thought it was going to end when I started college, but it didn't. So this pattern kept continuing. So let me do a quick flashback, and this will all make sense. When I and my sister were teenagers, I used to always give the high blood pressure medicine to my dad, who had high blood pressure, because the doctor said that was the best thing for him. So I used to give it to him every morning. And I thought, this is great. This will help him. Well, then suddenly at the age of 51, he suddenly had a massive heart attack and just died. And I was a teenager at the time, my sister too. And then my mom was suddenly a widow, young widow. And I looked at my sister and we both said, why did this happen? How did this happen? And how can we prevent this from happening to anyone else, even though we were teenagers? So fast forward, that set into stone an idea of we want to do in the future. My sister and I decided to form the Chari Center of Health. Chari's our last name, in tribute to our dad finding a solution to prevent this from happening in the future. So my sister studied medicine, became a medical doctor, and wanted to practice functional or integrative medicine, which goes to the root causes versus the symptom with a natural approach, which is safe. And so she started doing that with people, mainly women and men too, and got amazing results with all kinds of medical conditions. And I was working as an engineer in the field, and I was admiring, wow, this is wonderful what she's doing. I'm improving productivity and efficiency in different companies and organizations. And I thought that's good, but I thought it was more inspiring to me to improve someone's life and change the whole direction. That seemed more exciting to me than improving the efficiency of productivity in a company for myself in an engineering firm. So I told my sister, I'd like to work in our center. She says, that's great, but we're a medical center and you don't have a medical degree. I said, that's true. So then I thought, you know what? I was reading all those books when I was stuck in the library on the law of attraction. I wonder if that could come in handy. So this is what I did. Universe, can you somehow help me work in our own center that I'm managing to help heal people in some way? I know I have an engineering degree, not a medical degree, but can you somehow help me? And I said it just like that, and I let it go. And I continued working in my job. 2 weeks later, some friends came up to me and said, Deepak, this guy's going to be speaking in Santa Monica, California. At that time, we lived in San Diego, California, about how your voice reveals all your limiting emotions, negative emotions, self-sabotage patterns, negative thinking, and most importantly, how certain frequencies and harmonics of sound and advanced technology could be sent to that person to release those limiting patterns quickly and easily, regardless of how long they've had them. And I thought, that sounds pretty neat, like an interesting topic, not really thinking about that. So I went and started listening to the presentation, and these light bulbs went off like, wait a minute, bing. Is this something I could do at our center? Because it's definitely technically based and I have a technical background. Then another light bulb came on and said, wait a minute. Could you actually clear this bullying pattern? Is it like the movie The Matrix, where it's like a program, a pattern that's I don't have to stay destined to? Is that possible? So I went up to him at the end. I said, I would like to apprentice with you and learn this technology. He created the software, the technology I currently use. He said, I'll train only one more person. He already had a handful of people, and that's it. Because he got some other health conditions afterwards that he decided not to do it anymore. But I was in the right place at the right time. So I learned everything about the software. He watched me as I cleared people of depression, anxiety, fears, phobias, emotional trauma. And he says, I think you got it. So then when I had it down, I said, wait a minute, I have an engineering degree. I wonder if I could apply this. Maybe I can shorten the time of certain things. Maybe I can eliminate some steps. Maybe I can smooth it out a little bit, which I was trained in engineering to do. And I did. And that's when I streamlined the process, is when I created the Life Transformation Technology Program, my own unique version of what he taught in a much faster, eloquent way. So the first person I worked on to see if I could clear this bullying pattern was me. And I worked on it. I felt lighter and happier. I could measure my voice and it showed there was a clearing. So I said, let's see what happens. Well, soon after I did that, those horrible people in my life didn't want to be around me anymore. So at first I thought, well, they're horrible people, but they're kind of leaving. But then soon after that, I started drawing wonderful, loving, nurturing, supportive, caring people in my life. I had no idea even what that was. And then I said, wow, this does really work. For your viewers and listeners, I shared this story because even if you felt like, Deepak, I've gone through all these trials and tribulations, drawing all these horrible people in my life, horrible situations, I had so much trauma. How is my life going to be any different? I don't even know what it's like to be loved. I don't even know what it's like to be happy. Well, it's okay. You can experience it even if you've never experienced it before, because I did. I didn't know what a loving, caring people were in my life either, but I started experiencing it. So you can too. So that's why I share that. So then when I drew all these wonderful people, then I said, okay, now I'm really inspired. And then I started working on one person after the other in our own center, then till it was thousands, all over the US and all over the world. So it started with my own journey of being bullied and harassed to helping myself and many others.
Wow.
Sounds
That's
like
amazing.
yeah, when your energy, you get rid of all of that toxic, whatever, the bad, whatever is in you. Sounds like your energy changes to positive.
Yes,
And that draws
exactly.
more positive people around you.
And situations too. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So was there a personal experience, maybe something unresolved, stress, anxiety that made this work feel necessary to you rather than just interesting and something you wanted to read about?
Well, for me, that I couldn't tolerate drawing this negativity in my life. It wasn't just the negative people, it was the negative situations that would somehow keep appearing, or even my own patterns of self-sabotage. I mean well, but I do destructive things. I said the wrong thing at the wrong moment, and then it would cause an anger with that person, and then they didn't want to talk to me anymore, and this kept happening. I said, no, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, oh, but you said this. So when I cleared this pattern within me, it didn't just clear that, it cleared other things too that I didn't even know I was doing. And then you would say wonderful things at the right time. I noticed that the law of attraction seems to flow for you really well without having to say affirmations when you do this work as well. That's something else I discovered. And you feel good about yourself. You'll even feel happy for no reason. Yes, it's true. Though it's hard to conceptualize that, because if there's a negative spin in your energy field based on past programming, it's like a spiral down. When this is shifted with this work, it actually spirals up. No one knows there's a spiral up, but there is. And then you start drawing wonderful situations, experiences, and events in your life in addition to people as well. It changes the whole energy field. So yeah, absolutely. It started with feeling low self-esteem, low self-worth, not feeling confident, not believing in myself. Absolutely. And that all shifted. And I have many case studies of people too, where that shifted as well. For example, this one case study of this woman, she went through so much mental, emotional, physical abuse in her childhood, and she was able to conquer it and get through it. So she wanted to empower
Nice.
women that you too can get through this. I went through hell and I got through this. You can too. She wanted to inspire women. It's a great, wonderful thing. But she, for almost a decade, she was presenting to all kinds of women about her experiences, and she made all these DVDs and CDs and courses. But in the audience, in all of her presentations, people would be looking sideways, talking to each other. And when she came to the climax of how she achieved everything and what she went through, no standing ovation, no emotion, nothing. So she was so upset. She couldn't understand what I went
Yeah.
through all this. How could you not be inspired? She came to me and said, Deepak, I gave my presentation for all these years and nothing happened. Can you look at my PowerPoint and tell me what I need to improve? And I told her, well, I'm not a PowerPoint master, but I'm a master in this, clearing this imprints. But I looked at her PowerPoint and I go, you know what? Your PowerPoint is fantastic. Well, if it's fantastic, how come no one responded? I said, well, it's not the PowerPoint. Then what is it? Well, it's your energy. When I listen to your voice, I can barely hear you. And if I can't hear you, and this is what I do for a living, no one can see you also. And if they don't see you, you're invisible to them. You see, it goes back to a concept that every cell in our body, let's say we have 60 trillion cells in our body, has a keyboard in them, like a 12-key keyboard, like a piano. And when we have certain different emotions, negative emotions, it squashes different keys on our keyboard. For example, anger squashes different keys on our keyboard. Grief, sadness squashes different keys on our internal keyboard. Fear, worry squashes different keys on our keyboard. Low self-esteem, low self-worth, different keys on our keyboard. If you have a lot of those conditions, then most of your keyboard are squashed, so you're not really heard at all. That's why these people are not heard. So in my process, I reverse engineer it and get those keys to play. So whatever emotions are sitting on those keys cannot coexist in a harmonized environment. So then all the notes are heard, and then you're really heard in a way you never were before. So I did this work on this woman. And I said, okay, now, yes, I'm listening to your voice. I can really hear it well. It's in beautiful harmony, beautiful melody. Very nice. This is my assignment for you. She said, what? I want you to give that same verbatim presentation to essentially that same group of women, and I want you to tell me what happens. But Deepak, that was the most humiliating experience I ever had for all these years. Why would I repeat that? I said, yeah, but you're not the same woman. Trust me, I verified that. So she went and did that same exact verbatim presentation. And as she was doing the presentation, tears started coming down the eyes of the women in the audience. When she got to the climax part, people stood up on their feet and thunderously applauded really loud and clapped. They rushed to her table, bought her courses, something that never happened before. She then told me, Deepak, you won't believe it. For the first time in my life, people acknowledge me. I can't believe it. The same presentation exactly. How is that possible? I said, well, you're not the same person again. You're an empowered woman, and your voice will be heard like never before, and you'll be appreciated, acknowledged like never before. So that's an actual case study, and I have many like that.
That's amazing. So you talk a lot about hidden emotional blocks, and I think most of us don't even know that we're carrying them. How do these blocks
Exactly.
show up in everyday life?
They do, because You're right. When someone comes into my office, it used to be office, now it's all virtual from the comfort of your home. But when I listen to them, I like hear things that they want to address, like I'm feeling very angry or frustrated, or, I'll definitely pick that up, but I'll pick up other emotions too that they're not even aware of. That's in their subconscious. So if someone doesn't believe in themselves, even though they say, I want to achieve this goal, or I want to get this relationship, or I want to get this particular, I want to advance in this particular position in this company, or whatever it is, that's a great intention. But it's like two people hand wrestling. This one part says, I want to achieve all this, the conscious mind, the 1%. But the 99% says, yeah, right. You don't deserve it. And what is saying you don't deserve it? The subconscious mind. But maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was a teacher that told this kid that. Maybe it was all of the above. Maybe it was other classmates that said, oh, you're not that smart. Or who knows? It could be a combination of many things. But it's always the parents. And it's often teachers from our early age, 0 to 7, as I said, 0 to 12, that create those imprints that travel forward. I worked on a guy who had like 5 PhDs, Stanford, Harvard, so many things. I said, gosh, you're such a brilliant guy. He goes, no, I'm nothing. I'm not smart. I'm really stupid. I said, well, what are you talking about? What I found out is that his parents told him he was worthless and he wouldn't amount to anything. And so he did all these degrees to try to create that feeling of, no, I did something, but he didn't get it released at the core, which I was able to actually go to the root. Because even if you do all these accomplishments and outward things, right, you'll get that temporary satisfaction, but it's short-lived. Then you'll go back to that square one pattern again of that original imprint. It always will go back to your childhood, you see. When we go to the root of the tree and take care of it there, then you will genuinely really feel that joy and keep coasting with it. So low self-confidence, low self-worth, low self-esteem, not feeling good enough, not feeling you deserve to be loved, fear and overwhelmed, fear of the future, regret of the past, guilt, shame. Those are all the kind of emotions that cause these patterns in our life.
Wow.
Wow. So, yeah, people who are listening that are saying, I'm fine, I'm functioning, that's how they can tell those little subtle signs that something deeper is still unresolved within them, even though they think they're fine and functioning.
That's correct. I had a woman who came to my, at that time's office, everything's virtual now, but I had a woman who was speaking to me. I said, go ahead, tell me what's going on. Obviously, she came to see me, so she must have had some issue. She goes, well, everything is okay in general. It's kind of like a bowl of cherries, and everything's okay. Everything's pretty smooth. It sounded, in her voice, sounded like that to a regular person. It sounded, oh, it's pretty good. But when I listened to her voice, I heard rage. I said, okay, what are you really, really upset about? I know you're upset about something. No, I didn't say I was upset. I said, why don't you just go ahead and tell me? She said, okay, you want to know the truth? My boyfriend broke up with me 2 weeks ago. I got fired from my job. Can you believe that? Someone betrayed me. Can you even imagine they would do that to me? Can you believe that? I was like, okay. But the thing is, I could pick that up in her voice, you see, that most people just in her regular conversation would not even know. Her voice sounded very smooth. Everything's fine, Deepak. Everything's okay. I'm all right. Is that true? The subconscious will always reveal in the voice. The voice is the most accurate reflection I found of your subconscious mind. No matter what you do, you can never hide that. Because did you know when you speak, we think we're speaking with our vocal cord, right? No, you're speaking with all 60 trillion cells of your body at the same time, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You're speaking with every part of your being. So people pick that up. So let's say you're giving a presentation to your audience about self-confidence or something like that. But unfortunate thing happened, betrayal or something right before you gave your presentation. Or you're afraid about something that happens in the future or worried about something. Well, when you're communicating, imagine that as a carrier wave. You're telling a positive message to your audience. But that fear, you're basically emailing it to your audience. It's just on the same carrier wave. It's going boom, right to them. They're going, whoa. I'm kind of feeling a little anxious now. But the message is about self-confidence and all that. But the person wasn't feeling that. So that's what they feel. So what they hear and what they feel is different. What they feel will always overtake what you're actually even saying. So that's why, like you said, oh, I'm fine. Everything's good. Oftentimes there's something behind that.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
voice does betray you at times. You
It will
don't
tell
even
the truth, actually.
subconsciously. Yeah, it
It'll
just
tell
comes
the truth.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the truth
You're
giver.
right.
I mean, it's the actual truth. That's what it is.
Yeah. And if you're really tuned into somebody, you can
Yes.
pick that up in their voice. Like,
Immediately.
I say to Ann all the time because we're such close, good friends. I mean, we consider ourselves sisters, even though we're not
Yeah.
sisters. Uh,
Yeah,
but she can tell me on the phone that, oh, I'm fine. Everything's good. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're lying to me. I know you're lying. I can hear it in your voice. And she's like, what? No, I didn't. My voice is fine. I'm like, no, I can just hear that
that's
tone of
good.
your voice and know that something isn't right.
That's
So then
really
I have
good.
to
Yeah.
spill because she won't leave me alone until I do. So that's how that usually goes.
Wow, that's a really great sisterhood that you both have. That's awesome
Yeah,
that you understand
we
each
call
other.
it twinning sometimes. We'll
Yeah.
call each other at the same time. We will say the same sentence at the same time. And yeah, and then we laugh about it. We're like, there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Your
fun.
sisters from other mothers and fathers, right?
That's
Exactly.
what we say. And we
Yep.
swear that in past lives, we were probably actually really sisters in past lives, and we
Yeah.
just don't know it.
Somewhere,
I
somewhere back
believe that.
there.
That's right. Yeah, that's how we all find our soul family, who and oftentimes that's not our actual family at all, isn't it?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's so true, because we're going to be energetically drawn to those people who really are our true family ultimately. So you're right. And
Yeah.
the more clean we are from internally, though, from our base core, from our past programming, then the more we'll be drawn to that true family of who we really are drawn to. We have our physical family, but then we have the real one, the organic one, like you're talking about. But the more clear we are from within, the more we'll draw other people, colleagues, business associates, mentors, and even relationships, everything, once it's clear at the core. And the direction of our life can literally take off versus either go mediocre or slightly downward over time. It does make a huge difference when that whole perspective is changed within self.
Wow. The advanced voice biofeedback, I'm very interested in that you were talking about. You can pick things out of people's voices.
Yeah, yeah. And then clear anything that's holding them back as well. Absolutely. Like I had a woman who was on 30 years of antidepressants. She was such an exciting person before in her life. Like she was painting and dancing and singing, and she was an actress and so multi-talented. But some unfortunate things and relationships happened in her life and other traumatic things that took away her mojo, so to speak. And then she went to some therapist or somebody told her to take these antidepressants, which is, I'm not here to comment on that. So she did that for 30 years. But what happened is all her mojo for life left. She stopped all of those things that she loved to do: singing, dancing, painting, artistry, working out, and keeping fit. Somehow she found out about my work and she came to me and said she just lost her lust for life and everything. So I worked on clearing that. And then, of course, I went to her ancestry and cleared all of that from childhood. And then she said, I'm feeling really good, Deepak, in spite of everything that happened in my life. Can I get off of these meds? I go, well, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an engineer and biofeedback specialist. Go and talk to your doctor. So she went and talked to him. He goes, well, let's reduce it by 20%, the meds you're on. You can always go back on, thinking that she'd probably have to increase it again. Then she said, no, I'm still feeling good. Then she went back, 50%, drop it to 50. She's then 75%, then finally 100%. She still was feeling on top of the world. And then she got her mojo back. She went back to all the things she did 30 years ago: singing, dancing, painting, acting, and working out, all those things, biking. So she got all her joy back and she said, Deepak, I feel like fantastic again. Thank you so much. And then she saw one of her girlfriends who she hadn't seen in 30 years. Okay. And her girlfriend, when she saw her, she said, oh my gosh, you look exactly the same as when I saw you 30 years ago. Then she said, come on, tell me, who's the plastic surgeon who worked on you? I got to know his name. He did a fantastic job. She said, no, it's not a plastic surgeon. His name is Deepak. He works with the voice. It's called no. Yeah, look at that work he did. Yeah, he did a great job. So she thought I was a plastic surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk about this all the time, but when you release these limiting emotional patterns that you've accumulated over your life, which weighed upon you, literally upon you, when you release those imprints and patterns, then everything kind of goes back to where it was before you had those scenes and incidents. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Very
Well,
much so, because that's out of your body now. Everything relaxes physically, I would think.
yes, you're going back to a time before you had those things happen, before those things weighed upon you, literally. So the elasticity, everything kind of went back to its original state. So that was an interesting thing, and I didn't expect that. So that was
Wow.
really cool. But this is another interesting thing that I found. Would you be interested to hear about what happened with the mother and her two kids?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick moment to open the door to you. If you have a personal life story to share, a journey of healing you walked through, or life lessons you've learned along the way, we would love to hear from you. We're always excited to welcome guests who are mentors, authors, experts in healing, philanthropy, or spiritual guidance, and especially those who believe, like we do, that stories connect us and help us grow. If any of this sounds like you, or someone you know, you can find all the details on how to be a guest in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the story.
So this lady was an author, and she was starting to become well known. And she had two kids who were in their mid to late 20s. And the challenge was that they lived at home with her, and she wanted them to, of course, since they were, to help her out in the house and do other things. But they didn't do any of that. And in fact, not only that, they were condescending and mean to her and bossy and the opposite. So the son didn't clean his room. He didn't help around the house. He didn't clean the yard. He didn't put out the garbage. He didn't do really anything. And then the daughter also was kind of mean, condescending, complaining, and not helpful either. So she said, Deepak, I'm really not happy with how my kids are acting towards me. Yes, I'm an author and so many people love me, but not my kids. When you're working on me, can it somehow influence them? I said, well, I can work on you and release the emotional upset you have that they're acting like this with you for sure. But, they're different adults because the imprinting age is from 0 to 12. For example, parents who I also work on who have younger kids from 0 to 13, when I work on shifting the parents, the kids adapt to the way the parent is now from how they were before. So if they were combative, they suddenly become very communicative and sweet with their parents. But these kids were much older. So I said, I'm not sure about that. But when I worked on clearing her upset about how her kids were unfortunately acting with her and how mean they were and all of that, something interesting happened. When she went home after the sessions, the son first came up to the mom and said, Mom, I just want to tell you something. I'm really feeling bad of how I've been acting all this time, all these years. I've been mean, condescending. I'm not doing anything. I'm not helping in any way, shape, or form. You're becoming a famous author. So many people appreciate you, and I'm not. I mean, that's not right. I'm so sorry. Can you please forgive me? And you know what? I'm going to clean the garage like you always wanted. I'm going to rake the yard. I will always put out the trash for you. I will take care of things around the house and lift things or do whatever you need. I'm so sorry, Mom. Many people don't even have a mom. I'm so grateful to have you. And he gave her like a bear hug. She was
Wow.
Ugh.
like, is this the same son? No, where he came from. The daughter then came up, not knowing the son said any of this, and said, Mom, I've been really crabby and mean with you. To tell you the truth, you're my role model. I admire you, and I'm inspired by you. And I'm so sorry for acting so mean and crabby with you like this. I will help you around the house. I'll do whatever you need, all the things you need to help with. I'm so grateful to have someone like you. Many people don't have a mom, or they have a mom that's not so nice, and you're so sweet. I so appreciate you. I will not take you for granted. I'm so sorry. So this actually happened. So then it showed to me, wow, this can actually change even the people around you to some extent as well. So I just wanted to share that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's great to see not only that it impacts you yourself personally in a positive way, it can also impact those around you in your close circle in a positive way as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Your whole energy field, absolutely. So that's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah. So your life transformation technology program, what makes this approach different from just traditional talk therapy or other healing methods?
Let me tell you an example. There was a lady who was 90 who came to see me. She had, and I'm not here to comment in any way about other modalities, but I'm just telling you what she told me. Okay. She had 65 years of some therapy, okay? Someone talking with her, I guess. And she had severe depression and she still had it. So she came to see me. 65 years of therapy, though, and she's 90. So she came to see me and she said, Can you help me with this? I said, Well, I'm glad you found me. So I worked with her. I felt I cleared it. And the interesting thing with her is at the retirement home that she was at, Everyone was mean to her. She was public enemy number one. Even the people who would help her carry stuff into her house and all were very mean, didn't even want to really help her, and nobody wanted to be around her. And she also didn't want to live another day of her life. She just said, what's the point of living? So I worked on clearing all those imprints, which came back to her childhood. Believe it or not, it went back to age 7, which I talked about 0 to 7, where a teacher told her that she's not pretty, she's not smart, she'll never amount to anything. I don't know why a teacher would tell someone that, but that's what happened with her, which caused the whole course of her life and the relationship she drew into her life to be like that. But no matter, I cleared it. So then, interesting thing, when she went back to her retirement home, the guy who normally didn't really help her at all said, "Ma'am, can I help you carry things to your place? Do you need help with anything?" He never talked like that before. She said, "Yeah, of course." So he carried it. You want me to put it on the counter? You want me to put the food away for you? She's like, "Of course." You never asked me that before. And other times she went to our place, all these gifts would be at her door. Wine bottles, cheese, bread. And she's like, "Who's putting
Oh,
these here?" Apparently, the new tenants came there thinking she must be the main communicator of the whole place, even though she was the public enemy number one, and to connect with everyone there. And then she started getting invited to all these family reunions, and she wasn't even a family member. And then she got to sit at the head table of all those family reunions. So everything started going wonderful for her, and she started feeling happy about life and living again. So she came to me for a follow-up session, and she said, "Deepak, everything's going good, but I have a problem." I said, "Problem? You hated life, didn't want to live another day, you had no friends, everyone hated you, and now exactly the opposite's happening. What's the problem?" "Well, the problem is I've got so many invitations of so many people, there's no way I can go to all of them. I'm going to have to say no to half of them. How do I say no to these women?" I said, "No problem.
goodness.
No one said yes to you, so I'll help you say no to some of them." That's a good problem. So the
Mm-hmm.
reason I tell you that story is I'm not here to comment on other therapies or modalities, but I'm just telling you actual case studies of what happened with her. So this is different than anything out there, I can assure all of your viewers and listeners. And it's very smooth and eloquent. It's like a rocket ship in a very comfortable way, taking you from point A to point B. You can do it a longer approach, or you can do this approach, which is very eloquent. So it's just a new way of doing things, which can really help. Because I didn't have 65 years of time to work on that lady who was 90. So fortunately, it took only a couple months, doing only one session a week.
That's incredible. I'm really happy for her.
Thank you. So am I.
I was just going to ask that you were talking about you
Yeah.
did one session a week for her. What is the normal when someone comes to you? Like how many sessions? How
Yeah,
long?
that's a great question. Yeah, it was several, it may have been like 5, 6 months of time, and not when I said a couple. But basically, everyone starts out with a foundational set of around 9 sessions. Because the reason is, everything we have in our life took a lifetime to get there. Because every sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, and emotion in every fraction of a second is stored in our subconscious. And it's layered in there. So we're clearing all of that. But with this innovative process, we're doing it in a fraction of that time, comparatively. So
Yeah.
that's why it may take a couple sessions, let's say 2 or 3 sessions, to clear the imprints you got from each parent. It could take more if there was abuse and other things too. But this is still a fraction of the time that it took you to get it to begin with. So let's say it takes you a couple sessions, 3 sessions with mom, 3 sessions with dad. And then everyone has childhood events, like I was bullied, but other people might have had physical, emotional abuse as well. There's different key scenes in our life where we've all had in our childhood that were very traumatic for all of us, right? So I got to clear those too, that emotional charges. Otherwise, they'll keep repeating. So we cleared those as well. So we had 4 to 6, and then you have maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we did the baseline work. So then next, I cleared the imprints from your current and past relationships, so those don't repeat as well, and whatever's going on in your current life in the very moment. And lastly, we clear the imprints from the grandparents. So it will be definitely more than the 9, but the baseline is the parents and your childhood events. We probably would have covered it in those times. And yet this is still a fraction of the time that you took you to get it to begin with. And then, of course, we go to your current life, your relationships, and then grandparents. So that's how we start out, like, in doing this work. But along the way, I should add for both of you and your audience, you're going to feel lighter and happier every session we do with one session a week. You'll start feeling better about yourself. You'll start drawing wonderful situations into your life. And I have you document all of that in what I call your daily experience journal, because you will forget it if you don't. All the shifts that are going on week after week. And before you know it, when you look back at your book, you go, oh my gosh, all this stuff happened? I didn't realize that. And the reason I have you write it is when you write it down, it imprints your subconscious, and your subconscious goes, wow, all these things happened?
True.
Well, I want more of that. So that's why I have you document it. So yeah, so does that kind of give you a guideline of how that works, starting out at least?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
Thank
not as many sessions as I thought.
Yeah. And of course it varies, if someone had very heavy trauma, and I've worked with a lot of people
Right.
with a lot of abuse,
Yeah.
but it's still a fraction of the time that it took you to get it in the first place. That's for sure. And you'll feel really
Exactly.
good every session. Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? All of us are superstars. Nobody's a regular person, so to speak. But I don't mean that. I mean that in a very
Yeah.
nice way, because everyone often says, I'm just a regular person. No, you're a superstar in my book, any of you, because I can hear and see your potential that even the person doesn't really realize. Someone says, I'm just a housewife. I said, no, you are a superwoman. I'm going to help liberate that out of you. And
Yeah.
then when I do, suddenly some of them become entrepreneurs and all these things, because that was really their potential. My goal is to liberate the true potential within themselves, whatever that is, whatever their desire is. Oh, I could never achieve that. I'll say, yeah, you can. I'll help you believe in yourself. In general, it might take a couple months, but once we do the baseline work, this is the key. Then we can go to other levels, you see. Like, for example, a martial arts expert, right? They're a black belt, let's say, right? But before you got to that, you had to go through, was it brown and yellow? I don't know which one, the lower ones, right? Yellow
Yeah.
belt, brown belt, and then you get to black belt. Well, all of them can kick my butt, okay?
Right.
But the thing is, the yellow belt is still not a match to where the black belt is, right? There's certain skills and things he or she had to really practice to get to that level. But they had to do that, and then they got to that level. So then once you do the baseline work I talked about up to the grandparents, now we can go to other levels never before visited to take you to where you want to go. If a person is saying, I'm sweeping the floors and I want to be a manager of this department, okay, I'll clear any limiting beliefs, and suddenly you're a manager. And then they say, well, now I want to be the supervisor of all the managers. Okay, now I'll release limiting beliefs, and now suddenly you're the supervisor. Well, Deepak, now I want to be the vice president. I'll release the limiting beliefs. Boom, they become the vice president. What if they're sweeping the floors and they say, I want to be the vice president now? Well, that won't happen. Why? Not that they couldn't do it, but they don't have the skill levels and the knowledge and experience to get to that place yet. So I have to take you in the stages at the rate that you're ready to get there. Does that make sense? But once you get the baseline work done, now you can run several companies, you can do everything. But just like the martial arts level, to get to the black belt, there's no limit to where you can go with this, because you're an infinite being. You're a work in progress from the infinites. And then you can also do maintenance every month or so just to keep things flowing. Because as you clear these limiting beliefs and you go to higher levels, now the universe is going to meet you at the new level you're at to go to a whole new level of growth. So you might need the skills and tools, right? The brown belt to get to the next level. So then I'll say, okay, now we're ready for that. I'll help you with that now. See? Because we're always a work in progress.
Wow.
Amazing.
Those moments are powerful. So how does it feel for you to witness that kind of shift in someone?
Oh, that's a great question. That touches my heart to the highest level. When I see someone who just gave up on life, didn't want to live another day, like the 90-year-old woman, but it could be the person who was on those antidepressants for 30 years, or the mom who's unhappy with her kids or where her life is, and then suddenly she's passionate about it again. That makes my day. That's like winning a lottery every day I'm doing this. And I'm as passionate now as I was 20 years ago when I started. With every client, I have the same passion for everyone because I know their life is going to turn around in ways that they don't even believe. But I believe in them sometimes more than they believe in themselves. And then once I start clearing it, then they get to the level where I believe of them. And then when I see those things happening in their life, I can't tell you how it touches my heart. That's why I'm so passionate about this work.
How
Yeah.
could you not be, to help so many people and change? Because if you change one person's life, it just spiders out to other people. They pass it along, and it's this
That's
big
exactly
web
right.
of
That's
so
right. My bigger
created-
mission.
Yeah. I mean, and it works because that energy spreads.
That's right.
And now they have the tools and they can use those tools around other people who will also pick up on those little hints of things that will help them.
That's exactly.
Why do you think the body, and especially the nervous system, needs to be involved for real change to happen?
The thing is, we are multidimensional beings, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So every part of our body is involved in all of our emotions. And those emotions that are stifling or holding us back, guilt, shame, regret, anger, frustration, remorse, whatever it is, different emotions get stored in different organs of our body too, which I can also measure with my technology. So when I release those limiting emotions that people didn't even know they're harboring in their body, those areas that I release the emotions from seem to work better. And though I'm not a medical doctor, a lot of times people say, Deepak, I've had severe digestion for all my life. And when you cleared all this anxiety and depression and guilt and remorse from all the traumas I had, my digestion's fantastic now. I can eat anything. And another person says, Deepak, thanks a lot. I don't have that neck and back pain and lower back pain I used to have. I said, well, you never told me you had any of those things. Oh, didn't I? I said, no, you didn't. Oh, it's not there now. And other issues that people had just seem to disappear, so to speak. So because I'm just working on clearing the limiting emotions, and those are stored in different parts of their body for different people. But I can detect where those are, and when I release it, then those things seem to improve. And yes, the nervous system is integrated with all of our emotions. So definitely the emotions are stored in there too. So when the nervous system's cleared out, people feel calm, grounded, empowered, confident, and they make better decisions. This is key. And when you make better decisions, you get better results in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it was Tony Robbins who said, it's in the moment of your decisions that your destiny is shaped. And it's Wayne Dyer who said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So this whole process changes all of that, your perspective and how you see things. So then your reality also changes. The decisions you make, what you draw into your life. So yes, your nervous system is definitely a part of it, and that will be enhanced for sure.
Wow.
Amazing.
So many of our listeners are juggling responsibilities, trauma recovery, relationships, constant pressure.
Yes.
Why do you think stress and anxiety are so hard to release, even when people try everything? I know from our email communications prior to this, you listened to my episode where I spoke about my stress and my experience with stress. I mean,
Yes.
I literally broke all out. My whole body broke out in spots. It was horrible. So why is it so hard for us to release that stress and anxiety? No matter what we do, I do exercise, I do breathing.
The thing is, it's like, okay, imagine you're in a pit, right? And the walls of the pit are really greasy that you can't even hold on to. And you don't know you're in this pit. I see you because I'm not invested in that emotional challenge you had. I can see the forest and the trees. I can see you in the pit. And you're not realizing, not you, but anyone might not realize they're in that. So what I do is I hand a rope to you and I say, look, you don't realize you're in there. Grab this rope. Okay? I'm coming from this place of joy and happiness and liberation. So just grab on the rope and I'll help. But you got to hold on. We work as a team. And that's all you got to do. And I'll help pull you out of there. Then once you come out of that, you go, whoa, it was kind of dark in that pit. Look at how sunny and nice it is. And the air is fresh and clear. And wow, I didn't know this place even exists because I saw that for most of my life. Because your subconscious gets used to being in familiar places. Your subconscious, we think, wants to make us successful. But actually, that's not true. Your subconscious wants to keep you in what it thinks is safe. Even if that means destructive things for you or self-sabotage or like what you went through you described in your podcast, the unfortunate challenges you went through, and it repeats it. So when we want it just about ready to break out, it says, oh, she wants to break out of this. Let's put the air conditioner on so we can cool her thoughts for doing that. And then you just kind of stay in this. That's why people draw the same things over and over and over again. Now, you have your conscious mind saying, no, I don't want this stress. I don't want that. But remember I talked about the conscious mind, subconscious mind, 1% versus the 99%? Who's going to win? No, you don't deserve that. Or no, you're not ready for this. Let me keep you safe in here. So when I do this work with people, I see those barriers, which you won't see because the person's in the pit. They don't even know they're in it. So I'll say, let me coax the subconscious, say, look, let's just move this up a little bit, okay? Maybe let's move this down. Let's widen it up. Is that okay? Well, I guess that's okay. That's not too much. Okay. The next session, why don't we just move this up even further and move this down just a tiny bit, not much. Is that all right? Yeah, that's not too much more. Well, actually, we started here, and now we're here. And so the subconscious gets used to that new way of thinking that it wasn't used to before, and then suddenly everything shifts in your whole life, physically, emotionally, in every way, shape, and form. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So all the things like in regard, just using myself as an example with my stress and anxiety that I deal with on a daily basis, what the things I'm currently doing to deal with that is just that. It's just dealing with it and allowing me to function day to day. In order to totally break free from that and remove that, then I have to go through a release like what you're talking about to
Exactly.
totally clear that out, and then I can move on.
Exactly. Because it's almost like we're looking at ourselves from within the pit. So that when you're looking at it from inside the dark pit, I mean, you're seeing it only within a small area, like the subconscious confinement I talked about. Whereas when I work with anyone, I see the whole thing, the forest and the trees and everything. And the person might be saying, well, I have this issue going on. And that is true. But there's all this other stuff that's contributing to this. And I'll be able to see that also because I'm not invested in that situation. So I can see it for what it is. And that's what you need.
Right.
And everyone needs, honestly, someone to see it from the outside. Look, I'm not invested in any of this, so I can just tell you, this is what I see. So then I can say, okay, this is what we need to do to clear this step by step. But the key to your listeners and for yourself and everyone watching, no matter what you've gone through, even if you feel, God, this is hopeless, I'll never get out of this situation. No, you can get out of it. Because what happened is your subconscious believed that it's stuck in this trap and that's how all there is. And it wants to keep you in there, thinks it's safe. But the key is we can release those limitations on either side. And then suddenly you can have everything you want. You can experience all the emotions and joy and happiness that you deserve to have.
What do you think we misunderstand the most about healing?
One thing I can say about healing in general is it's not like an instant thing, like, okay, heal me in one session. And some people say, can you do it in one session? I'm like, have you cleared all of your life issues in one session with anyone? And you think I'm going to do that? And it's interesting when someone says that to me. It's like, have you done with anyone at all? Just go ahead. No, I haven't, but I thought you might. I said, okay, so if you haven't done with anyone else, how do you think I could? In other words, you have your own free will. And if we say that the higher power, to be politically correct, can't even interfere with our own free will, then how in the heck am I going to interfere with your free will and say, no, I'm just going to override? Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. I'll
Right.
take care of it, right? Because the thing is, you're invested in it for some reason. You're holding on to that emotion for some reason. It's thinking it's keeping you safe, or I got to hold on to this. There's no logic in it. Because as I tell people in my sessions, the subconscious has no sense. What happens when you put those words together really fast? What word do you get?
Nonsense.
Yeah, nonsense.
There you go. That's what the subconscious is. It's actually nonsense. But the thing is, you believe that. So therefore, I kind of clear that whole energy of that. So the misconception is that, no, healing doesn't happen in one session or one day because your subconscious was wired to think like that over a whole lifetime. But the good news is we can clear it in a fraction of that time that it took you to get it to begin with in layers. So let's say I'm clearing someone's anger. Okay, then, and we're done with that session with that anger from that situation. Then they come back and they're saying, Deepak, now I'm feeling sadness. I'll say, yeah, that's right. You're right on cue. Now that underneath that was sadness. But we couldn't clear that until we cleared this layer at the rate that you're ready to release it. See, I can release it all in one day if you're a robot, but thank God you're a robot because I don't like working with robots. You have a soul, you have something. I want people like that. So the thing is, I will also ask your subconscious, not you personally, but your subconscious, faster than you blink your eye. I know you need all these 10 frequencies, but are you ready to receive them from me all at once? And the regular person will say, yeah, send them all to me, Deepak. But I'll say, no, then I'm going to talk to the 99% that's running your life, not you personally. The subconscious says, well, no, I don't think I can take all 10. How about this one? Yes. How about that one? No. Yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no. Okay, perfect. I will send you only those. Boom, I send it to him. This is done in 2 to 3 minute bursts, and it's called a round, and there's each session's an hour. So then as I send that to the person, they feel lighter. Let's say they were at a 10 level of anger, then it might drop to a 7.
Right.
So we do another round, drops to a 5, and then keeps dropping. That's how we approach it in layers. But then each session is a layer to the next set of emotions. I only do it at the rate that your subconscious is ready to receive it from me. So therefore, it's a perfect match. I'm not just fire hosing you with every frequency under the sun and hoping that it's going to work out. If you're surrounded with different modalities where you just send all these frequencies all at once, that's nice. It's kind of a generic thing. But mine is very targeted specifically for you. Maybe you only need this much. You don't really need all the others. So that's how it's done in layers. So that's one thing I would explain any kind of misconceptions about healing. It's not done overnight, but it doesn't have to take forever either. It can happen in a very short period of time.
I guess it doesn't all build up in there overnight, does it? So it's going to take a
Exactly.
little bit to get it out. Yeah.
Right. It's actually very smooth and eloquent. It's really amazing how fast it can work.
You make me want to get on a plane.
He does his sessions.
It's all
Yeah.
virtually. So you can do it from the
Perfect.
comfort of your home,
Perfect.
or I've had people do it from their hotel rooms on their bed. So yeah, that's the neat thing with this work. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You have to travel in traffic or anything.
That's amazing, guys. Did you hear that? Come on. That would be awesome.
So if someone listening feels stuck or overwhelmed or emotionally exhausted, what's one small shift they can make today?
Okay. One thing that I can tell them up front is say, notice where your thoughts are going. Is it focusing on something that happened in the past, or is it something about fearing of the future? Usually that's where it is. It's never in what's going on in the current moment. So that's one thing just to see like, okay, because whatever happened in the past is done. Whatever is going to happen in the future hasn't happened yet, but you're in the current moment right now. So that's what I would say. Focus on the current moment. And the most current moment I can think of is your breath. So if you notice, most people, when you notice your breath, if they're going through an anxiety or something in that very moment, something they can do right now is to say, because if you don't breathe, you're not going to exist, right? That's the first thing there.
Right.
So observe your breath, and 9 times out of 10, you'll notice your breath is really fast, which speeds up your heart rate and pulse rate and brainwave activity.
Yes.
So what you want to do is say, oh, I noticed, be aware, awareness. I notice I'm breathing fast. Don't be hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So let me slow it down. Let me take slower, deeper breaths and slow everything down. Because when I slow that down, my heart rate slows down, my pulse rate slows down, my brain activity slows down. And guess what? I can think clearer. You can't think clearer when you're breathing in a hyperactive, hyper state. There's no way. So when you slow everything down, then you can go, wait a minute. Is it really that bad? Maybe it's okay. Yes, it's not something I wanted to happen, or I was anxious about talking to this person, but it's not the end of the world. I can live another day. It's okay. I'm the most important person in this situation, not that event. So let me give back to myself. And if somebody made you really angry or upset and you're just not able to get over it, then what you can do is just imagine that person in front of you, see their face. Then what I'd like you to do is just imagine you could just suck all the color out of their face and make them black and white. Okay? Then after you do that, make their face turn into Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse. Okay? And make their face kind of goofy, like, like that, like one of the Muppets. And then if they talk to you in a very mean, condescending way or said something upsetting to you, make their voice kind of sound like, I can't stand you. You're fired from your job. Okay. You don't deserve to work here.
That's the best.
So you see this black and white thing that looks like Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or any kind of Muppet character talking this very high-pitched kind of wacky voice saying this to you. I guarantee you, you're probably going to crack up within a few seconds. And then after you do that, continue laughing and just laugh for no reason. Just keep laughing, laughing, laughing. You don't have to even think of a funny incident, but you probably will when you keep doing it. And just keep laughing for like a couple minutes. And before you know it, you're going to feel really good. And that thought will kind of go poof, at least temporarily.
You know, that is so true.
Yeah.
So true. That laughter.
Yeah. So, but you kind of need to build, because you're upset about the joy. So you could do it in these stages I guided your viewers and listeners to do, and it can take them to that place. And of course, if you want to get to the root of that even happening at all, then of course, then I can work with you on that. But this is something you can do in the meantime that will help you in those current situations so you can give back to yourself. And it's also important, I would say, for your viewers and listeners to tell themselves how special they are and how grateful they are for everything in their life, even for themselves. Be grateful that you're breathing, that you're existing, that you can see things in front of you, that you can feel things in front of you, and appreciate everything. I just saw a beautiful dandelion in the sidewalk growing from the crack of it. Well, someone says, what's such a big deal about that? No, how could it get through the cement? Isn't that amazing? You know, just appreciate every little thing and feel the joy of that. If you notice and you look at nature, nature doesn't seem to be too stressed out about anything, but we are. So observe nature, observe the bugs and the butterflies and things like that. As simple as that sounds, it's very effective. When you focus on that, you'll kind of see what's important in your life, actually. And then when you reflect back in yourself and say, you can ask a question like, well, what are some beautiful things that I offer to the world? You probably are saying, oh, I did this wrong. I screwed this up. I messed that up. No, 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 no. What are some beautiful things that I'm appreciative of myself are? Well, I'm a very nice, caring person, helped a lot of people, very nice personality, I'm friendly. So just appreciate the wonderful qualities you have about yourself, and suddenly you'll feel a lot better too.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice.
What's something you wish more people knew about their own ability to heal?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us don't know that we can actually take some steps to really lighten ourselves a little bit.
Absolutely. So if you imagine we're like a walking temple of divine wisdom and beauty, we want to take care of this body temple as well. So most people don't think of it like that. That includes the food you put in it. That includes the air you breathe and how you breathe and how you think. So if we think of this as a walking body temple, and I want to keep it pure, I want to keep it clean, I want to keep it happy, I want to sweep the floors in it, I want to keep it shiny, just like we do it on some outside or other people in our life, sometimes we take very good care of everyone else, but who's the one we don't take care of hardly at all? Maybe ourselves?
Yeah.
So turn that around. Say, okay, yeah, I'm great at taking care of everybody else, but maybe this week and from this peer pouring onwards, I'll make sure I take some time every day to take care of myself, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What gives me joy in my life? What inspires me? What are things that make me happy to do? Maybe there's some new things I haven't done before, a hobby or interest. Instead of worried about making a mistake or doing it wrong, just go out and try it. Join a hobby or a club that maybe you haven't done before, but don't worry about making a mistake. Just go ahead and do it. You're going to create new neural pathways in your brain, and you might surprise yourself and say, wow, I really love this. And guess what? You'll attract new friends, and you'll have great partnerships with people, and you'll actually create more joy in your life. So the thing is, keep expanding. Your subconscious, remember, wants to keep you confined. It's thinking it's protecting you. So you want to do everything you can to keep expanding. And I can also help you in the process.
Awesome. So quick reflection round, just for fun. And quick answers. One word you'd use to describe emotional freedom.
Liberation. A caterpillar going into a butterfly.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great one. How about a habit that supports your nervous system?
Sleep. Most people don't get it. And maybe meditation.
That's
or
true.
Reflecting inward. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the most unassuming one, right? That's why I thought I'd say that one.
Yeah. A lot of people do not get enough sleep at night.
Absolutely. And then also reflecting inward is another one I would add to that list. Reflecting inwards means closing your eyes, so you're closing off to the outside world and going inward, because Everything outside of the world is a reflection of what's inside of you also. So go inward and kind of go deep inside. Even if you say, Deepak, I don't have time to do that. Okay, do you have 5 minutes? No. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have 5 minutes for yourself, but you have hours and hours for everybody else in your life? We got to turn that around. You say, no matter what is going on, I would say 10 minutes, but take 5 minutes for yourself every day to close your eyes and go inward and go into all the beauty that you appreciate about yourself. How about that? And that will
That
make a
is
dramatic,
fabulous.
yeah, that'll make a
Yeah.
dramatic difference in your life.
So, what is something that you're still learning about yourself?
I'm always expanding about myself. I'm always going into new frontiers, new levels of expansion, even in my own confidence, in my own self-growth, in my own knowledge, and my own skills. I'm always learning something new I didn't know before. And believe me, there's always things I don't know. Even in the work I do, I'm even improving on what I did before. I didn't think I could do that, but I am. 70% of my work is intuitive, 30% is pure technical. But that intuitive side of myself, engineers don't talk about intuitive side, but they do also use it. I happen to be more of a right brain person. I'm always enhancing the work I do for myself, for others, and even in my own skill levels of so many different things: computer technology, advancement, growth, spiritual, emotional growth in all areas.
Awesome. This has been so interesting.
It has. Deepak, thank you for sharing your work and your heart with us. This conversation really opens the door to healing in a way that feels empowering and accessible to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on
Yeah.
your show.
Thank you for being here. And hey, if listeners want to learn more about you, the Chari Center of Health, or your Life
Yeah.
Transformation Technology program, where can they find you?
Absolutely. Thank you. If someone wants to find out more about my work, what I offer is a complimentary 15-minute consultation. No obligations. We'll just talk and share with each other. You share with me what any trials or tribulations going on in your life, what you want to address, any upsets you have, and what you'd like to resolve, and what your goals are, where you want to go. And I will customize a program unique for you of how I can take you from where you are to where you want to go. And I customize my program for each person. And if you want to proceed, I'll tell you the steps of how we can go from there. So I recommend you go to my website, and my website is www.fastanxietyhelp.com. Go to that website. You can see about my work. Click on the testimonials tab. So you'll see how so many people have benefited my work from every background and every walk of life, and you'll be able to connect to some of them. And then most importantly, click to have a complimentary no obligation session with me through Zoom, and we can go from there.
Amazing.
Well, if today's conversation resonated with you and you're curious to learn more about Deepak's work, we'll have links to the Chari Center of Health and his Life Transformation Technology program in the show notes. As always, take what serves you and leave the rest. Your healing journey is your own.
Thank you for being here and for being open to your own journey. We really appreciated this.
As we wrap up today's episode, I hope something in this conversation stayed with you, maybe a thought, a feeling, or a reminder that your journey matters too. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss a story. Thank you for spending this time with us and being part of the Travel Time Stories community. Until next time, keep making memories for life. Bye, everyone.
Bye.